All right, I've started recording. Didn't forget this time. Woo. All right, welcome everybody. Have a few folks showing up. People keep coming in. That's awesome. So welcome everybody to Civil Chat. My name is Brian. To my right or to my left, I'm not sure which side he's on your screen, is also Brian. We will be going. We're it today. Other Brian couldn't make it today. He had something going on. He didn't say what.
They only got Brian squared, not Brian cubed.
Right. Maybe we'll get to Brian Strandberg. Maybe we'll bring him in so we can get back to the three Brians. Nah, we won't do that to you, Brian. So this is Civil Chat. If you haven't been here before, welcome. This is you can think of it like a call-in radio show where I and Brian, we will do our best to answer any questions that you have on anything civil related in the Autodesk world, whether that's InfraWorks or Civil 3D, maybe we get in some raster design, AutoCAD, whatever you want. It's really up to y'all. This is based off of your questions. So if you don't ask questions, we don't have much to talk about, and we'll just kind of watch Brian play with his weird eyes. He got that weird. Turn it back on, Brian. It's bizarre. Show him your eye.
So here you go. There you go. Now switched. Ooh, magic. I am blind in this eye, so there you go.
It's just so weird. The eyes always look at you. I don't like it. I'm not gonna turn it on my system. Yeah. So I always like to start off with something, I don't know, civil related, and today I'm going to start off with something that's absolutely not civil related. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see, bring that over, share screen. Let's talk about ChatGPT. Have y'all played with this yet? This is some bizarre stuff here. As you can see, I was playing with it a little bit.
I submitted I'm just having it write my proposals for the conference I have to go to.
Yeah.
I actually tried that, and I was laughing because it was so politically correct. I'm like, oh my God, this might as well be Autodesk writing this stuff because it was so politically correct. And
Right?
so everything else, I'm just like, well, yeah, this sounds like Autodesk actually wrote that. So I thought,
yeah,
it was
but the cool thing about this is if you're trying to get like a custom routine in AutoCAD or Civil 3D, this will get you part of the way there at least. I don't think it's perfect. There's been some weird things, but for example, if I were to type, I don't know, what do I want to do? I want to change all lines to polylines in AutoCAD using Lisp. And it just kind of writes the code for you.
So one of the things for me that I found this be nice is put in a phrase in there and say reword and just see what it comes up with. Because I'm terrible at trying to reword my own phrases when I'm trying to like write papers and stuff. So I've been trying that quite a bit. You can just say reword and put a sentence in there, and it'll try to word it better for you.
Yeah. So I haven't tried this one yet, so I'm just gonna copy this code. So I just click on copy code. We'll come over to AutoCAD and let's see. Let's draw a bunch of lines in here, and then I'll just go ahead and paste this into the command line. No, come on. Why are you not doing that? Let's try that again. Copy the code. Paste you in. That's interesting. It's not pasting correctly. Control C. Paste. Yeah, there must be missing parentheses or something. But it's cool because you can see, oh, yeah, I didn't think about using this particular method of doing whatever it is I was trying to do. I did, how do I design a subdivision? And this, I thought this was fairly interesting. It goes through and gives you like all the things that, well, I shouldn't say all, but it gives you a good overview of what needs to be done to design a subdivision. So I found this to be fascinating. I've been playing around with this a bit.
I like what Brian put in the chat. He said, I was asking him to write some CAD manager slogans yesterday. Here's a couple. I'm a CAD manager. What's your superpower? CAD manager, because sometimes even engineers need a hero.
I love it. Asking you to help plot against your coworkers. That sounds right. Help me plot against my coworkers. So this is just kind of fun. There you go.
And you do realize that the FBI is monitoring this. So if the police show up at your door thinking you're going to go, postal on your coworkers, there you go.
Right. So, like I said, it's just kind of interesting. I did type in one and it gave me a completely wrong answer. So I was like trying to remember how to take text and move it to the elevation of the text. So if I had a text that says 123.45, I wanted to move that piece of text to the elevation 123.45, and I couldn't remember how to do it. So I came in here to do it and it gave me something that was just wrong. So
yeah, I did it in the Revit world, and it was like it combined the command for floors with the command for beams and the command for walls. And it's like, yeah, none of that's correct.
right. So but yeah, so like I said, it's kind of fun. So I thought I'd show that off and just kind of give you an idea that, hey, this is out there. And basically my understanding is it's a predictive text. So it writes the first word and then it predicts the next word based off of the previous words or something. I don't understand the whole thing, but it's pretty impressive.
In case you all can't tell, Brian is buying time because we still do not have a question in the question
Come on,
and
give
answer
me some
pod.
questions, please.
So we need some questions to continue the show. So otherwise, we're just going to be typing in random shit into Chat GPT and see what we come up with. Or we'll see if we can have it write Brian's paper for
There we go.
the Built conference.
We'll do this one. How do I get people to ask questions in an online webinar? I hope we're making everybody feel comfortable and not unfriendly. There we go. So I guess I should do some polling then, huh?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good ask questions. You do polls.
Yeah. Can we do polls in Zoom? I haven't done that recently. I haven't tried that.
Remember, if you guys are going to come up with questions, try to put those into the question and answer pod. Because if you do questions in chat or questions in the chat, then it flows to the top, and more than likely we will miss it. And ironically, it's not like we can even copy those and put them into the chat because we can't ask questions.
That's right, we can't.
As webinar host, you can't ask a question. It's very bizarre.
I can show off my new Rubik's Cube.
Unix cube.
All right. There we go. Let's go.
So you got a couple questions in there. We'll start with Tom's. What is the command to export all Civil 3D styles to a text file?
What is the command to export all Civil 3D styles to a text file?
Should we ask Chat GPT? Then I think it's time for Chat GPT.
So Brian put in the chat, dump styles and settings. I've never heard of that before. Dump styles and settings.
So did Todd in the Q&A pod.
Interesting. We'll go to a file. And I'll just throw it.
And Craig says, yes, that's correct as well.
And let's go take a look at this. This one's new to me. Cool. Why? I suppose you could get some way of comparing them from different drawings.
And
there
Tom
a
said
way
he's giving
to-
credit. He's giving credit to Craig. Craig did it.
Import styles and settings. So if I go create a new drawing with no template.
Yeah. John
Yeah,
is
Craig
also
has it.
asking. John is also asking, like you, Brian. Okay, what would you use this for?
All right, so let's go ahead and save this.
And Craig says he uses it to compare old to new. So Craig, if you are doing it as compare old to used, and I don't know if you have this program, Brian, but there's a program out there. It's either free or it's $20, and it's called shoot. Now I gotta figure out what it's called. It's called File Compare, I think it is. And one thing I always love about it's not what a button I wanted. One thing I love about that program too is it will actually show you. Why can I not?
Okay.
Get this to show me?
So it looks like it's just create the text file and then it's kind of like that the underpants gnomes in South Park. It's like, oh, what do you do with the what are you doing? It's like, we're making money. Well, how do you do that? Well, step 1, get underpants. Step 2, step 3, profit.
No. Yeah, so if Craig, you are trying to use this for that, there is a program called Beyond Compare that I use. What I actually love about it is you can compare one folder to another folder, but what's really, really cool about it is you can also compare like a text document or a Word document or an Excel file to another one.
Is it this one here?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I was just getting ready to put that in there. Yeah, it's from Scooter Software. I love that program. I think it's like, I think I originally paid $20. I don't even think I've ever had, it gives me free upgrades. I don't know, but totally worth it. I use it all of the time, and especially for comparing like folder A to folder B, or I use it to compare document A to document B. It works really, really, really well. I think when I was really, really young, I think when I first started with it like a decade ago, it was free, but.
All right. Excellent. What do we got next?
Alrighty, so the next question came in from Brandon. Have you found any cool add-ins that you use in the Autodesk App Store?
I haven't actually. It's not something I've done a whole lot of. Most of the time when I need something, I just kind of do a search and it doesn't really take me here. I know, is it Red Transit?
So Brian's saying he uses the Kobe tools. I
Yeah.
use the Kobe Revit tools. Mayo says he uses the LiDAR tool from DotSoft.
DotSoft has a lot of really good tools. Red Transit, they have a lot of really good tools as well. One that I always recommended was the Pipe Network tools, Pipe Network productivity tools, because it lets you set slopes and drops through pipes, but we can do that in Project Explorer now, or slope across pipes. This is the one. It was $18 or something like that. It's just ridiculously worth it. $75 a year. So you could save that in a day with that tool back then. But yeah, so Steve Hill does Red Transit Consultant. What were some of the other ones?
Detail Manager by CMT.
Okay.
Kobe, DotSoft, LiDAR tool. There's one that I actually love, and probably not so much for you civil guys, but if you ever have to create custom hatch patterns, and it's actually for CAD and Revit and a ton of different tools. I use a program called oh shoot, I just drew a total mind blank. HatchKit, and it's for CAD. It's for CAD or Revit, or you can just go into it, and it's just a great tool that I've used forever just to go create custom hatch patterns. Again, for you guys in civil, I don't think you use a whole lot of custom hatch patterns, but that's one that I really like.
Yeah, you also have the Express Tool Super Hatch that will allow you to, you can even create a hash pattern out of an image with Super Hatch. If I remember
Yeah.
correctly. Not something I use very often.
Like for a lot of my interiors people, like you can literally, like you're trying to do tile, anything that looks tiled, it takes about 2 seconds to go in. You don't have to draw lines and say convert like all the other tools out there. It's literally go in, define the spacing, or even if you want text, it'll do hatch patterns with text.
Cool. Nice.
So that's one that I always use. All right, and again, I think I saw some questions pop up in the chat, but now I've lost them. So if you did have questions you put in the chat, please put them in the question and answers pod so we can jump in.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do have a question from Eric. And the question
Okay.
from Eric, okay, this is probably way below others' ability. No such thing, Eric. I know nothing about Civil, so it's not below my ability. But I need to create a way to change the entire group of points, trees, which we use in our topos for trees, with symbols showing their elevations and name. I have the ability to do it, but one at a time. If you choose multiple points, it won't let you eliminate the elevations. I want to be able to select the group and eliminate the elevations all at once.
All right, so it could be a couple of different things. It could be, let me open up a drawing that has some points and a point group in it. So I'm just going to go to one of the tutorial drawings here. Let's see, Autodesk, AutoCAD 2023, Civil 3D, Hope, Civil Tutorials, Drawings. Let's see, this one should work. Okay, so again, this is just a drawing that has some points in it. It has a couple of point groups in it. Let's make sure everything's on and thawed. Interesting. Give me just a quick sound. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so and you can see it's got a bunch of points in it. Probably the way I would do this, Eric, would be through point groups. So I've got, I totally forgot about Bob. Does anybody know the story behind Bob in here? So the point description is actually GRND. The default template that shipped with Civil 3D a long time ago, this particular point label style had Bob at the end of it. I just think it's hilarious.
Grand Bob, I like that. It's the grand battery operated boyfriend. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say it because I know everybody's thinking it.
Right. So what you can do is create a point group. So let me go ahead and just, I'll change that back. So we'll change these. So if you notice, these points are displaying according to the point group. So all these ground shots, right, are in this all points point group. And as I change the properties of the point group, they change as well. Now I've got some manholes here, and I want my manholes to look like manholes. So let me just go ahead and delete this point group, and I'm going to start over. All right. Okay, so we'll go into the property. Oh, no, we'll go create a new point group here. And I go through and I set up this point group the way I want it to be. And I can say, hey, I want this to look like a tree. So I'm going to pretend these are trees for you there, Eric. All right. On the include tab, I will then include those trees. So I'm going to do with raw description matching. And I think this was, what was it? MHST. So that's probably manhole storm. All right. And then I'll come over here to my point list, and you can see I've got these points. And when I select OK, you can see it now looks like a tree. So if a point doesn't have a style assigned to it, it picks up on the style of the point group that it's in. So this manhole point had no style assigned to it. So whatever point group it's in this case, point group 1, it displays according to that point group. Now, if a point had a style assigned to it, so I'm going to go up here and edit list points, and I can come over here and I can change the style. Where is the style? There's the style. All right, so if I change it to basic, you'll see that it displays according to basic and not the way the point group is telling it to. So by default, a point will display the way it's told to display at the point properties. And if it doesn't have that command, so to speak, it'll default to the point group. However, I want this to display it as a tree no matter what. So within the point group, again, I'm going into the point group properties. That's where the overrides tab comes into play. So I can override the style and the label style. So if you notice, we got this invert in here and everything. And when I do that, it changes both the label style as well as the point style back to the point group method of doing this. So Eric, what I would do is I would create a point group for your trees, display them the way you want to in the point group, tell them, hey, I want to see them a certain way, and you're off to the races. Now, this particular point is in the point group 1 and the all points point group. So you have to make sure that whatever point group this one is in, whichever one it is highest in the list, that's the way it's going to display. So right now, my all points point group is saying, don't display anything. Every single point in my drawing is in that point group, but the ones we see are still in the ones above it. So if I right click on point groups, not an individual one, but the collection, and go to its properties, I can change the order here. So if I move all points up to the very top, you'll see all of my points go away. Well, except for these must have a property assigned to them. So if we go into so this is why I like to do this. I like to create a new point group, and I'm just going to do this real quick. I call this one no display. And for my point style, I'll set that to none. My elevation style, I'll set that to, or my label style, I'll set that to none. And then in the overrides, I'll toggle on both the style and the point label style. And then in the include tab, I will include all points. And this what makes it so that the only points I see are the ones that are above the no display. So if I move point group 1 above no display, all I see are my manhole trees. And if I move detention pond above no display and point group 1 below no display, I don't see those nasty tree manholes anymore. All I see are the detention ponds. Now you may be wondering, Brian, I can see the nasty tree manholes. Yeah, for whatever reason, when you're messing around with point group display order type things, a lot of times you have to regen the drawing. So just a quick regen all, and they go away. So
Tom said, hey, I like to use show and hide. And there's like, yeah, like he's showing here. So Tom agrees he uses show and hide point groups to isolate points in there.
Yep, same concept. So hopefully that helps you out, Eric.
Cool.
What do we got next, Brian?
All right, we got a short one. And then, I always love it when people just give us a yes or no question, because we could technically just say yes and then move on. But I think this person wants a little bit more of a description.
Probably.
Sid asks, have you worked with the manage data shortcuts dialog box?
Yes.
Okay, next
and it's
question.
Fantastic. All right, let me get a drawing going on here. So let me set up my data shortcuts. We'll set the data shortcut project folder. There we go. All right, so I got some surfaces in here. So I'm just gonna create a surface in here. Actually, yeah. No, I'll just data reference one in. There we go. And then I will promote this real quick. There it is. All right, so it's not a data reference. It's just a surface in my drawing, right? So you can see it's not a data reference. It's just a surface in my drawing. And what I want to do is I've got another. So let's go take a look at this. Let's pull this up. So if I come up here to manage, I've got this option here to manage data shortcuts. All right. Now, you have to remember there's a difference between data shortcuts and data references, and Autodesk doesn't seem to know that there's a difference between them sometimes. I swear, it's just crazy. All right. So what we have here is we have the data shortcuts over here on the right, and then we have the objects that are currently in the drawing over here on the left. And what you can do with this tool is you can tell this object to be replaced by a data reference using this data shortcut. All right, so right now this is just a surface in this drawing. If I change that other drawing, this surface isn't going to change. So I can come in here and I can choose this surface, block 4A, and I can find this shortcut over here on the right, and then I can hit this little link button in between. And what it's going to do is it's going to convert this surface into a data reference surface that references the surface that this shortcut points to. I know it's weird talking. So I just click on that. And now if I come in here, you can see that this is now back to being a data shortcut. And so you can do this with anything. I think this is great. If it's like, you know what, I need to replace this surface with that surface, and I don't want to mess up all my links to this surface, just create a surface in the other drawing, data shortcut, replace it with a data reference, and then promote it, and you've done it. You've now replaced that surface with this surface, and all of your references, like, you know, corridor targets, volume calculations, all that fun stuff persist. So that's kind of how I use managed data shortcuts. Does anybody use them in other ways, perhaps? That's the way I've used them.
You're so going above and beyond the question of do you use them? He didn't ask how you use them, Brian.
I know, but
I
this
know.
is civil chat. I
just,
like to chat.
I like to chat. I'm just giving Sid a bunch of crap. So
I know.
I don't know if this has something to do with that because I have no idea again about the product, but it says, what are your thoughts on the new label visibility features? Is that part of the data reference, or is that a completely separate question?
That's a completely separate question that should have gone into
Cool.
the question.
Then we'll go to a different question. All right. So up here in the top, so Thomas asks, can survey data paths be set globally, or must they be individual for fig_pref, line code, set, equipments, etc.?
You're making me get into survey stuff. This is civil chat, not survey chat. Come on.
You
So
at the
basically
beginning you said anything Autodesk, InfraWorks,
I know.
etc. So there you go.
So what Thomas is talking about is the survey database pathing, right? So if I come in here, I think it's under the user settings, which I believe is this far left one. So if I come up here to click here to edit the survey settings, I can change all of these paths, right? So I can set the survey database defaults to wherever I want them to be. And these ones are just set to the defaults because we don't use the survey database here at GEI. So we just left them to the defaults. There's no way that I know of to have this be deployed necessarily. However, what you can do is once you've set all of this data, you can then come in here and you can export these settings out to a file, right? So I got the settings the way I want. You can export them out, and then you can go onto another user system and then import them in as well. And I'm sure there's a way to do this in a profile or something like that. It's just not something that I've ever done. All right, so that's the best I got for you, unless somebody else has ones.
And John is saying, unless you have multiple standards, then use one set of file per standard.
Yeah, Don says that the paths are stored in the profile. So if you go into your profiles here, it says that they're stored there as well. So that's an option. So let's give that a test. We're going to put you on the spot here, Don, and see if this is true or not. So I'm going to...
Thomas said, yep, the profile's the trick. Thanks.
Yep. So I'm going to just call this one test. Line close. And let's see, we'll set that test current. And then we'll come up here into the user settings. And the survey database settings path will just change to C program data. Sure. So I just made a change here. We'll go ahead and hit OK. And if I go into my options and set that one current, and then come back here, it did not change. And I'm in a different profile. So I don't know. Did I do something wrong?
Yeah.
Is it a close out of CAD and then have to reopen it, or? If I go to the...
Yeah, you have to close and save the profile.
Yeah, probably. Let's give that a try. Go ahead and close this. And I'll relaunch it here real quick.
And Don said it didn't change your, when you switched it back and put it back to the default and didn't save your changes.
Okay. So it sounds like the profile might be the way to go about doing this. So go for it.
So do you always love it when you go back to do real productive work and then you get another, why is this all jacked up? Oh, that's right. I did civil chat yesterday.
Right. Okay, so everything is set back to the way it was. And if I set this one current, you have to start CAD with that profile, or can you just switch it? It is not changed. So it might be you have to start CAD using the profile to get that to set.
I think Don said when you actually did it, your save didn't pick on your changes. But
If I go back, so I made the change, and you can see it's just C program data. And we'll set that as the current profile. And it's still C program data. So go back to profile, make a different change, and then save. And let's see, let's get rid of that. I made a change to the profile. And no, still not doing it. I don't know. So profiles seems to be the way to go about doing that. Craig also mentioned that there's system variables that control those survey settings, so that might be an option to look into as well.
all right, so the next question comes from Sheldon. Can you export a point to KMZ which show the point number in Google Earth?
So you want to see the text in Google Earth. Does that sound right, Sheldon? Yes.
Yes.
I don't know. That data should export with the KMZ. So I would guess that it's a Google Earth setting somewhere that you'd have to change to be able to see that data in Google Earth. I've never really messed with exporting points to Google Earth. Does drawing have a coordinate system? Probably not. No. Yeah, I don't know the I don't know if that's possible or not. You could create a no, because I mean even the point style doesn't go through. So that would be more of a Google Earth setting, I would think. Because you're just taking the data and sending it to Google Earth. You're not taking any of the graphics and sending it there. So
Brian said he's currently testing it, so we'll see. But
Hmm.
Sheldon said he agrees he couldn't find it. So
oh, you probably had somebody that was asking you to do it, weren't you? Oh, I see what you're doing. Yeah, that's cool. That's good. Yeah. I like it. I like it. Confirm. Confirmation is always good.
yep. All right, this one comes from Brian, who is currently testing. So we'll get into his question. So why he's testing, we're answering his question because I'm evil that way. How about demoing the process to export pipe networks to GIS? It's a fun workflow and takes up time. I got it, but others may like the process. I think he might have typed that in before we had questions and I just missed it.
Yeah, it could be. Let's see. I need a drawing that has pipe networks and has a coordinate system. I don't know if the sample ones have pipe coordinate system or not.
He says
I
he's
don't think
starting
it-
to get a lot of jurisdictions asking for this.
I don't know if I've ever exported Pipe Network to GIS before. All right, so I doubt this one will have a coordinate system assigned to it. Yeah, so, but we'll give it a try. So is it on the output tab? So you can export civil objects to an SDF. So SDF is kind of the Autodesk equivalent of a shape file. And if you send that to somebody that's working in like an Esri program like ArcGIS or ArcGIS Online, they're going to look at you and like, dude, what is this? So you don't want to send them an SDF. What you probably want to do is you then want to do a bulk transfer from the SDF into a shape file. Is there an option to export directly to civil? I don't think there is. So we'll export the civil objects. Sure. So it's going to create this. I need to put that someplace that it can read it because that's a read-only location. So did it do it? So let's go find out. Map. I'm just turning on the map workspace. So I just type map W space to do this, and then I type on. It's easier than going through and changing the I want design center. Oh wait. All right. And then we can connect to that data. Let's see what's in that data. I have no idea. So I'm going to browse to that SDF file. Oh, come on. I clicked on C. And connect to it. And so this is all the stuff that was in this drawing that it was able to export out to that SDF file. So I'm going to do pipes. And we'll add that to the map. And then let's go check out the data table.
The fact that the bottom right corner button was disconnect on that last dialog box is a horrible place for that, because that's right where an OK dialog box should be. And I saw you move your mouse down there 3 times, like I want to hit OK.
So this is the data that comes in with from that SDF. Well, nice, thank you. And then you can do a bulk transfer to a shape file, and I don't remember how to do that, and I'm not going to try to remember right now.
Brian did say he outports or exports civil objects to SDF is the biggest way he does it.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is doing it to SDF, and then within map somewhere you can go create a shape file, and then you can do a bulk transfer. So if you change this to the planning and analysis workspace, I don't even remember where it is up here. Tools maybe. Collaborate, no. Create. Oh. I don't know, someplace. I have played around with it a little bit. It's not something I've done a whole lot of, but yeah, bulk copy is up there. And basically what bulk copy allows you to do is allows you to copy things from one GIS data source to another GIS data source. And so you can go from SDF to shapefile. All right, what do we got next?
So Tom has actually had a follow-up to your display of elevations on the trees. He said if you actually want to change the physical elevation and export and import is what needs to happen. He's like, to bulk change the elevation of a whole bunch of points to their physical elevation or remove that, then you actually have to do an export. It was just a follow-up to your comment from before.
Okay.
And I missed it. I'm a slacking host because I missed it.
How dare you?
Dang it. All right. So I was going to jump into this next one here because it was about pressure networks as well, since you happen to have those up there. Can you talk about how the pressure network part list is used and go over some of the advantages of having the parts lists on a Civil 3D project?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me switch back over to the Civil 3, not 3D modeling, Civil 3D. All right, so your parts list is going to be found underneath the settings tab. Let me go close all. I love that command. One of my favorite commands. I'll just go ahead and create a brand new
what
blank
is that
file.
command in? What is that command in AutoCAD? Close all?
Close all. Yeah.
I don't know why they don't have Control W as the Windows-based shortcut to do that.
I don't know. The Control W.
Yeah, Control W in Windows will be like Control. So like if you've got multiple views open in something, Control W usually says, hey, close this project. But that's not a shortcut in AutoCAD, and it pisses me off. It's a Windows-based shortcut. It should be in AutoCAD.
That's because it toggles your selection cycling, dude. That's much more important.
That's much more important to take a tool that every Windows program uses and switch it to something else in AutoCAD.
Well, most likely the selection cycling might have predated the Control W.
Yeah, probably predated Windows ribbons, and so that's why.
Right. All right, so settings tab. If I come down here to pressure network parts list, and we'll go into this water parts list here. So this basically tells you, says, okay, when I'm designing this type of a pressure network, these are the parts I want to have available. So in here, I have my, 4 different sizes of ductile iron. I've got a few fittings in here. All right, so I got some crosses, I got some elbows, I got some T's, fun times here. And your appurtenances. So what's the difference between a fitting and an appurtenance? Well, a fitting is intended to change the pipe. So I'm changing the size of the pipe, I'm changing the direction of the pipe, the water flow is changing through a T or a cross or something like that. Whereas an appurtenance is not designed to change the pipe necessarily. It's like a valve, right? So it's something that goes midline on the pipe. It's not changing the pipe at that spot. So primarily valves, pressure reducing valve, a gate valve, a butterfly valve, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So your parts list can be set up so that it has specific, let's come back over here to the fitting. So let's go to the elbows. So when I put in a 10-inch, 11¼ degree elbow, it's going to have this style. It's going to have this render material, and it's going to have this pay item assigned to it. So the pay items are great because once you're done, you can just say, hey, I want you to calculate my pay items, and it goes, or my quantities, and it goes through and adds up all of the different pipe elbows that are 10-inch, 11¼ degree, right? And it gives you a nice report of that. And so this is the value of using pressure networks and the parts list with the pressure network. At GEI, we don't have a very good one set up yet because I don't like the way that the catalogs that come with Civil 3D are. So if you come over here to the information tab, you can add in additional catalogs. So for example, if I right click on water, I can add a material, and I don't have any more materials because the only material that was in this catalog was ductile iron pipe, and I've already added it. But if I come over here to the information tab, I can load an additional catalog, and you'd have to go find it. And I can never remember where these damn things are. Is it program files? I think we have some, actually, we might. Do I have them under my CAD support? I don't remember. I think I do. Yeah, there we go. So it's a SQLite file. So you can say, hey, I want the steel catalog, and it adds that in. So now when I come over to pressure pipes, I right click and I choose add material. Oh, it's still no, but you can change it to a different catalog up here, and then I can add in my steel pipe into the same one. And then I right click on steel, add a size, and we'll just go ahead and add all those sizes in here, and you get a plethora of pipes. This is what I don't like about it. It's like, why does it have to be so precise? It's like, this is a spiral seam versus a straight seam. Who cares? Right? I just want a 24-inch steel pipe, and you get all this extra stuff in these networks. And so what I'm currently in the process of doing here at GEI is creating a new catalog. So I don't know if you saw that or not. Oops. So if I go back into my parts list and I load a catalog, you can see I'm actually working on a generic parts catalog for us. And I'm modeling it based off of just push on joints, but it's just, I want to get parts in there and I want to get quantities, and that's what I want. I don't care if it's a spiral left or a spiral right. I just want the parts. And so I'm been in the process of going through, and I've got all of the parts built in CAD. Now I just need to add them into the catalog and then create the parts list for us. So I am in the process of doing that, Greg. So hopefully that will help you out here soon.
So you don't mean you need the spiral versus parallel versus, you don't do LOD 500 on your civil drawings?
No, and I don't care how many bolts are on the freaking flange either.
Sorry, I joke because I see stuff like that all the time, and it's like Revit Structure, they originally came out with that. It's like they gave us like 9 different weights of concrete. I'm like, nobody cares. They just want to know it's freaking concrete. That's
Right.
That's for something else. That's data somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. He's like, oh, you've got a pipe. What kind of pipe is it? Go look at the damn specs.
Exactly. So Brian did have a follow-up to the Google Earth. He said you
Okay.
can export lines or text to KML file from Civil 3D, but it doesn't work with points. So the only way he found is to explode the points and get them as AutoCAD geometry.
Oh, okay. So, ooh, that's a brilliant. So if I go back to points. So basically what you're saying, if I understand correctly, so let me just move this point. So you take the point and explode it, and it becomes a block, then explode it again, and then the text becomes a block and then explode it again. Oh, it's not letting me explode them. There we go. And then I got individual pieces of text that I can then edit, and they're just text. And then you can use, I believe it's Express Tools under text. You can, is it here somewhere? I thought it was here. Where you can explode text to line work. Where is that?
He said lines and text export. So I think you're fine.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Yes.
And then you can just export this text out. There's a command to create lines out of your text, but I don't remember where that is. I could have sworn it was under text here somewhere. Explode, there it is. Duh. I can explode the text, and then it becomes lines, which is lots of fun.
Wow, that brought me back to some CNC programming days in the 90s where I had to actually CNC out text all the time, where I type it in AutoCAD and then explode it.
Right.
That just brought me back. Cool. Oh, and I think Dave had a follow-up to what you were just showing with your pipe network stuff. He says he always models water on a non-plot layer to use it for consistent labeling across sheets. Also gives the crossing data on sections and profiles. The parts list is annoying, and he modified it for his labeling needs. And yes, Thomas, I am that old from the 1890s. I just, don't have any gray. All right, so we did have some questions in the chat pod, so I got to scroll up and get back to where it was. Randy had asked in the chat pod, I am looking to update all of our text fonts to TrueType. Is there a way to update all text styles within template styles and not have to update each individual style for the text font within?
Okay, so if I heard that correctly, you want to be able to go into all of your label styles in Civil 3D, or are you talking about the text styles in CAD? Or both? Or what? Let's talk about the text styles first. I just did ST for style. There's
Civil
no way
3D.
that I know of to change multiple ones at the same time. Right, but once you get these set up, right? So for example, these I believe are using the standard text style, if I remember correctly from being in this drawing in the past. So if I go into my styles, which I just type ST, and I edit the standard to be Arial, and I hit apply, any label styles that were using that text style update. All right, so you shouldn't necessarily have to go edit the styles or the Civil 3D label styles, as long as you've changed the text style that those are referencing. Does that make sense, Randy? It was Randy, right? Right.
Yep. The
So
text
you want
styles
to use
within
a different text style. So let's see, if I come up here to surface, label styles, contour. So if I come in here into a label style on the general tab, This textile here. So is this what you're trying to change, Randy?
He says specifically he's referring to the textiles within the settings of the tool space.
Right. Yeah, so this is what you're looking to change. Okay,
Correct.
so if you want to change every single label style in your entire drawing to use a different text style, what you would do is you would right click on the drawing name. So on the settings tab, right click on the drawing names and edit the label style defaults. In here, there should be under components. Oh, is it not here? Ooh. Yeah, here it is. So right there at the very top under label, you have the text style. So you can come in here and you can change that to a different text style. So I'm going to change that to S4, and that will change it to everything in the drawing that doesn't overwrite it. All right, so if you go into a label style and you say, hey, I want this to be Roman S, when by default the drawing is set to simplex or standard, and you come in here and change that, well, that Roman S isn't going to change because it has its own, it owns that property, so to speak. So when you change a child's property, that child overrides the parent. And here we have the child override column. So what you can do is you can just click on that little arrow and that will cancel the child override. And if I do this, and that when I hit OK, every single label style in the entire drawing will now be set to have a text style of S4. So I select OK. And now if I come into this label style here, and you can see it's now using the text style S4. Now what this
does it
will
allow
not
you to
do, go ahead.
Does it allow you to click there and change it?
Yeah,
I'm just asking.
Yep.
So is
I can still
that
change
so is that going to then confuse people because is it still going to switch to the standard or is it going to keep it at S4? I'm curious. I'm asking because at the top you said everything should use this, or is that just a hey, change it? It's not like a template setting.
Right. This is a way to change them all simultaneously.
Got it.
It's a mass edit type of thing. And it also changes the default. So when I go create a new label style, oops. All right, it defaults to that text style. So this particular label style, so if I hit OK here, all right, so this new surface contour label style is using the parent setting. Oops. So if I change this to SHR, you'll see that this one changes with it because this one did not override the setting. However, if I come in here and I change this to S4 and then, oh, wait, all right, we'll go ahead and apply that. Oh, no, this should be SHR, which is the same value that the parent setting is, but this one now overrides it because I've made a change to it. So now when I come up here and edit the label style defaults and I change that to standard, all right, which one was that?
I wasn't paying attention to which one you clicked on.
I wasn't either. Was it the new counter? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was that new surface. So you can see that this is still set to SHR because it owns the setting. And if you go to the summary tab for label, you can see it is overriding the parent. And by hitting that little
I guess the question
arrow,
becomes, is there a way to globally uncheck override?
Yes, that's what I showed
it.
you. So when you go into the label style defaults, that's what this arrow does.
Got it.
It unchecks every single child override for this component in the entire drawing. Now you can do it per feature if you want. So I just want my surface labels to be different. So I can right click on the surface labels and edit the label style defaults for just the surface features. All right. And so you can see this can override the parent and it can have a child override. So there's like these different levels of settings. And as long as you haven't done anything to this particular component, it's going to inherit the setting of the one above it, and then the one above it, and then the one above it. And if you change the very top one, it trickles down to all of them until it hits one that's overridden, and then it stops. So hopefully that's clear as mud. Does that make sense, Randy? That get you what you think you need?
It made sense to me, and I don't even use Civil. So
awesome. Yeah, just remember
Alright,
that parent override. If a child overrides a parent, when you change the parent, the child does not change. And that's a per setting thing. So, you know, you can, again, if I come over here to
even
the
with
summary,
therapy, that child won't change.
right? So you can see the label visibility is not overriding the parent, whereas the text style is. So it's not the entire label, it's the different pieces within the style. And you can do the same thing. So if I right click on here, you know, on a label style and I choose new, this is a child label style. This will inherit all of the properties of the parent label style, except for the ones that you change. Same concept. All right, anything else?
We have 5 more minutes, and we had one other question in the
All right.
chat, so I'm going to cover that one real quick. Got to find it again. So Rick asked at 12:09, what causes the planned production match lines to lose their sheet number and display in the sheet file through the SSM?
I don't know. I've never seen that happen. I would guess it has something to do with its lost connectivity with the sheet set, would be my guess. That's where I would look first. Excuse me. But I have no idea what would cause that to happen. Other than you pull the sheet out of the sheet set and then add it back in. That might cause it to happen.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then 3 minutes left. The last question in the question pod from Sheldon is, why has AutoCAD never fixed issues with copying points that are in drag state? They always reset.
Why has AutoCAD? I don't know. I didn't know AutoCAD could do that. I think you're referring to Autodesk, but that's all right. So if
I was
pull
going to
this
be
off
I was
into
going
the
to be right
drag
there
state
with you, Brian.
and I copy this, it creates a new point. I have no idea what's going on here. I never really copied points much. And then we will update the point group. I don't know. Seemed to work fine for me. From drawing to drawing.
No.
Are you doing like copy paste between them?
Yes.
Don't do that.
The reset.
Yeah. Here's my guess on what's happening is it's creating a new point in this drawing with that data. And it doesn't know anything about the drag state. I'm very, very reluctant to copy paste any Civil 3D data. How would I go about getting points from one drawing into another drawing then? With maintaining the visibility, I would just XREF them in. If the only reason you need them in there is just to see them, just XREF them in. I don't like the idea of copying points between drawings, because now you have multiple sources of truth, so to speak. And if you make a change to one, you have to remember to go into all the other drawings and make the changes to those as well. So that just kind of scares me, copying points between drawings. Yeah, it just, yeah, I get shivers
John
down
and
my
Brian.
spine.
Yeah, John and Brian, Giant, because they're married, and I'm going to give them a name like Brangelina. So Giant, both agree with you. John and Brian do. They say agree with the copy paste statement. This gives them, ugh. And then Brian said, one problem I see copy pasting civil data is creating anonymous blocks, which then need all to be purged to keep the drawing small.
Yeah, it's just scary. I'll give you an example of why you shouldn't copy paste. Let's go to surfaces. There we go. Then this has a surface in it. Yeah. So if I select this and I do a Control C, oh, I get this message. Basically, if you get this message, that means you copied something you shouldn't have. Don't do it. And then I paste it in, and I'll paste it in over here. And you'll notice I'm getting this duplicate point number. What? I didn't copy any points. All I did was copy the surface. Well, the surface has to have data in it. And so when you copy the surface, you're copying all the data along with it, which is just wrong. So don't do that.
So let's say you did want to get those into another file for whatever reason, but you only wanted the points. Would there be a way to like XREF it in and then bind the XREF where you're only binding the points and not the other data?
You
I'm
can't
just trying to come
bind
up
just
with,
pieces of it. You might be
Yeah.
able to end copy it. Ooh, that's an idea.
I'm just asking because I don't know why he asked the question. But maybe it's like, oh, I've got these and I want to, you know, just
Yeah.
do a different variation of this in a detached file, but I don't want all the other. No end copy with Civil 3D objects, Mayo says.
Yeah, I didn't think so. It was worth a try.
Export points and import via ASCII
Yeah,
would
but
be
that doesn't
John's.
maintain the. Yeah, no end copying of Civil 3D objects.
W block?
Possibly. Yeah, that might work. I don't know. And then if I go create a new drawing and then I. Nope.
Yeah, John said the points are going to probably start renumbering based on settings.
Yeah. Well, they didn't renumber, but they didn't keep the drag state.
So,
I think you're screwed, dude.
so there goes Sheldon. Don't copy paste and yeah, no. All right, we are now at the bottom. We are now 2 minutes past the bottom of the hour.
Well, thank you everybody for showing up. Tell your friends, tell your coworkers. Love to have more people show up, ask lots of questions. Thanks everybody for showing up and have a great time or day or
All right, talk to you guys
whatever.
later.
Bye.